got a play fire. Roger, I got your calm down, buddy. We're gonna be down here. We're not doing right. And if nobody can do it, these guys can do it. So just relax and be cool, okay?
We live in a world of volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. It is in that environment of high speed, high stress chaos that you as a leader must make decisions, communicate those decisions, then ultimately execute those decisions. Your ability to do so will determine your success or failure. Welcome to Decide, Communicate, Execute. Time to lock and load. Here's Gene.
Good afternoon, folks. Welcome to episode 6 of Decide, Communicate, Execute. Matt and I were just talking, and it's amazing that we're already on number 6. I'm having a blast. I hope you are. We've got a great show lined up today. We are seeing more and more, and this kind of really came to light with us a few months ago. We had a guy came to us, a veteran came to us with a business idea and a concept there. Now you can actually take if you're a veteran, can take your GI Bill and use that toward skills training. And he was looking at firing up a HVAC, air conditioning training program. And it's just unbelievable there what we uncovered in the process. They're saying that by the year 2020, which is just around the corner, that there's going to be 100,000 slot shortage in the HVAC world, just in the air conditioning world. I mean, it's unbelievable. And these young guys can come out after getting certified, can start out making, $55,000, $60,000 a year, and then in short order climb up north of a six-figure job. And so as we got to looking around that, and really that was the dawn of what got my attention, I started looking around and seeing that you're seeing this kind of same phenomenon taking place in one industry after another. You have all of us old baby boomers that are about to go to pasture in one way or the other. And just due to the sheer numbers coming up behind them, you're finding a lot of shortages. There's finding shortages in corporate leadership. There's a shortage of buyers for baby owner or baby boomer owned businesses, shall I say. And you're seeing that in one profession after another. So this concept, and you've probably heard it before, this idea of a talent war, that is a very real aspect of leadership today. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. Matt, if you'll forward it to the next one. I am a voracious reader. I hope you are too. Leaders should be readers. I, on average, read about a 300-page book a week. It's what puts me to sleep every night, and I wake up in the morning reading, and I love gathering it. This book that I'm going to share with you today, Leading Organizations by Scott Keller and Mary Meany, two advisors there. It's called Leading Organizations, 10 Timeless Truths. This is probably the best laid out business book that I've ever seen. Very clear, very concise. And so in the foreword, Jeffrey Pfeiffer wrote this: instead of being interested in what is new, we ought to be interested in what is true. There's every kind of new management guru and kind of the taste of the week that goes on. You're getting your cheese moved one week, and then next week it's leadership secrets of Attila the Hun, and it just varies from one wild range to the other. Well, what these guys did is they went back into all these Harvard Business Review articles, and they studied what were the components, what were the truths, what were the things that were over the past many years, 30 plus years, what were the things that consistently came up in a list of challenges that leaders had in the marketplace. And that's what we want to talk about today. One at the very top was this question: how do I attract and retain talent? You're actually seeing more and more companies as we go inside here, and we deal with these companies every day, and we've helped do that. is that just like they create a marketing program to get their name out there, to get their product or service out there, more and more companies are having to create, in essence, marketing programs to attract and retain good talent. There's less and less of those. And so let's take a look at some of these findings here. Boston Consulting Group always called it skill and will. That's kind of the Psalm 78, 72 model there is, competency and character. So your business needs talent that both has high skill and high will. I was talking with my business partner, Wade Myers, earlier today. And if somebody's got the high will, when it comes between high skill and high will, if somebody's got the character and got the ability to work hard, to stay focused, and is highly motivated doing that, you'd actually rather have somebody that's a little bit lower on the skill set than you would somebody that's high on the skill set and just has the drive of a slug, just doesn't want to really do anything, kind of goes through the motions. And so if you go back just one there, Matt, I sent you forward too quick there. We define talent, or they did, as the natural skill and innate will that predisposes someone to excel. So when we're talking about talent today, we're talking about people that excel above the norm. Okay, Matt, here's some of the things that they found. This type of stuff is fascinating to me, and it reinforces the need for really prolific and profound leadership today. Here's what they found. In low-skilled type jobs, the difference between average performers and high performers is on a scale of 1 to 100 there, is that a high performer on a real low-skilled job usually outperforms to the tune of about 150%. And that in and of itself is significant. So if you all based it on lower skill type jobs, in essence, serving at a McDonald's or better, serving at a Whataburger there, and this is not derogatory. I, as a young man in high school, managed a Whataburger. My brother, a year younger than I am, managed a Whataburger, and my brother, 2 years younger than I am, we all managed Whataburgers during high school when we were growing up, and all three of us went on to own our own businesses. So I'm not putting that down. It can be a great entry-level place to learn. But even at that level, where you're flipping burgers and taking orders and that kind of thing, the difference, if the average is at 100, with the superior worker, a high-skilled worker, in the productivity there being 50% higher, that is huge. But here's what happens in this. The higher the skill level in a particular job, the wider the gap becomes. For example, in a medium complexity job, instead of being that ratio of 100 to 150, in a medium skill or medium complexity job, that goes from 100 to 185. In a high skill job, that difference is more than doubled. It's from 100 to 225. And then here's what, especially in our new economy that we're in, where there's digital and you've got the internet and you've got the IT and all those things, a really high-skilled person, a high performer, outperforms 8 times an average performer. And so a lot of companies don't think about that. We see that all the time. And this, again, nothing derogatory toward Aunt Maud, but we see it all the time where there's no comparison. Aunt Maud started with the company, in the beginning, and she knew how to do QuickBooks. So as the company grows, which is now, $30, $40, $50 million a year company, Maud's, now got the title of Chief Financial Officer. Well, bless her heart, she can barely read an income statement and a balance sheet. She's not there, but because business owners many times have not seen what true talent looks like, they have a very hard time judging that. So here's what they found on the relationship between the quality of talent, back one Matt, that the total return to shareholders for the top quartile talent management companies is 24 times higher than the bottom quartile. That's unbelievable. I wanted to say that one more time. The total return to shareholders, if you're a business owner, if you've invested into a business, the total return for the top quartile of talent management companies is 24 times higher than the bottom quartile. So it pays to have talent on the team. Next slide, Matt. Here's what we're finding too. They studied where is the talent gaps across the world. And I'm just going to park here just on the North America. But the talent shortage overall of senior leaders across the world is at 31%. And that's the predicted shortage by 2020. America, in high-skilled workers, that shortage is a 16 to 18% shortage of highly skilled workers and 10% shortage on medium skilled. So there is a demand out there, and because of that demand, you're going to see higher wages. In fact, in spite of what they're saying about robots taking everybody's job, that ain't happening here. Robots will be able to leverage a low-skilled type job. But the demand is there, and you're seeing it more and more, a 16 to 18% in North America shortage on high-skilled workers. Next slide. What we see next is this. Here's what the percentage of top percent executives from Fortune 500 companies who agree with these statements. Now, you stop and think about this. We've got all of this shortage, and the data is showing that the shortage is there. It's real. It's getting stronger every day. But look at how corporate America's responding to it. Only 18% of Fortune 500 executives stated proactively that their company recruits highly talented people. Now, you stop and think about that. These are the largest companies in the world, have more resources in the world to work with as far as money and perks and being able to attract, but yet they say that only 18% of them agreed that their company recruits highly talented people. And here's another thing. This is just beyond me how anybody can run a company and not know this. Only 14% of them said that within their own company that they know who their high performers are and their low performers. That's unbelievable that these large companies do not, and this is the stats that were taken in many interviews that these guys did. Only 14% of leaders actually knew who their high and low performers were. Only 7% said that they really thought they did a good job of retaining high performers. You've got this talent shortage. The ones that have come through your door that you've been able to attract, but yet only 7% of them say that they feel like their organization really works hard to retain them. And here's the next one too. Only 3% develop people quickly and effectively. Again, it doesn't have to be that way, folks. The United States Marine Corps during World War II went to which today. There's approximately 200,000 in the United States Marine Corps. During World War II, they blossomed out to over 1 million Marines using a system of recruiting and training and being able to scale. And so they had to do that very quickly and bring people up to speed very quickly. So the model's out there to develop people and bring them up online. And then we see this all the time, again, going back to Aunt Maud. And it's not just in small business. You see it in these Fortune 500 companies here. Only 3% of these executives say that they remove their low performers very quickly. We see that all the time. There's delay. We've always believed the mantra that my business partner Wade Myers and I always say is hire slowly and fire quickly. And you usually see it right the opposite. And so Fortune 500 top executives this is how they view their company's talent management. Larry Bosdy, who I love his stuff, he's a former CEO of Allied Signal. He said, nothing we do is more important than hiring and developing people. At the end of the day, you bet on people, not strategies. So that's the statement that's there, and how that contrasts between performance and Fortune 500 companies is pretty startling. 3 questions every company should ask themselves. This was another great component that came out of this book. Ask yourself this question: what pockets of talent most drive growth, execution, and motivation today? If you're looking at your company, where are those talents? Where are those pools of talents? Where do you find those people? And that's one reason that I'm such an advocate for our veterans. Most people really don't understand how they've been trained, and how they've been trained to decide, communicate, and execute in this really high-speed, high-stress, chaotic environment. So where are you out now proactively looking to find pockets of really driven talent that have high will, high motivation, and have high skill? If they've got the will, you can teach the skill. So next one, how's this going to change over the next 5 years? Are you looking externally? Too many times entrepreneurs kind of look internally. They start to atrophy by staying focused internally. They're not looking at changes that are taking place out in the marketplace. And then too many times hiring is a reactive action. In essence, you're not proactively trying to fill the pipeline, and haven't created that culture that has people lined up waiting to come to work for your company. You're in reaction. And so what happens in that? You have Billy Bob quits. You're not counting on Billy Bob quitting. Jimbo walks in the door. You have Jimbo breathe in the mirror fogs over, you're alive, you're well, here's the job, here's how to go do it. And so we see that obviously that's being facetious, but we see that kind of reactive approach to hiring all the time. And so you need to ask yourself this question: to what extent will the talent you need be scarce or in high demand? We've seen that in all types of companies here, to where you have certain skill sets that are required, and there's just not younger people coming up behind so the graybeards that are looking to fill those slots. So on the next slide here, I wanted to share with you and show you, here's kind of some examples of how technology is having an impact on attracting and retaining talent. And we're seeing more and more of that. On the talent sourcing, more and more companies are going to analytics and online data sources and social network usage to tap latent talent pools. You're seeing this, probably the greatest financial success story in this particular approach is LinkedIn. They've really got a lot of their components that are down to a science on trying to identify certain pool talents that are out there. The next one there is that you'll see where technology is really coming into play is the screening, assessment, and onboarding. They're using surveys and tools and gamification to perfect who will predict who will perform best. We saw this, and we've had a lot of fun with this. In that when we go into companies, and again, we're working primarily with these baby boomer owned businesses where the owner's looking to cash out in the next 3 or 4 years, and we're assessing the talent and what's really required there. So the first thing that we do is come in and lay out what are those job requirements. You'd be surprised how many companies have been around 20, 30 years, and they have nothing written on what's really required for any specific job. Then we look at those skill sets that are required. Then we say, are there adjacent industries? Are there other areas that we can actually go fishing to find these type of people that have these skill sets that we're looking for? And then what we've had fun doing is really developing tests for that. One of the fun things we did, we worked with a logistics firm. And this logistics firm, what the skill set they had to have in their freight analyst, they had to have the ability to really listen to and solve problems on the fly. That was one of the skill sets they needed. And so the applicants that we hired and the ones we didn't hire told us they'd never seen a test like this. And my partner Wade actually came up with the idea. We actually pulled clips from the movie Apollo 13. And, there's a great scene in there where the flight commander there is saying, failure's not an option. Well, prior to that, he's laying out a very defined problem up on the board. And they're laying out possible options, et cetera. So what we would do in this assessment, and we found it to be spot on as far as how they performed later on, these young folks would have to come in and watch this video, take notes on it, and then answer questions and come up with solutions based on what they had seen. We had people that come in that had resumes that they had worked in this industry 10 years that totally and completely failed that assessment. At the same time, we had people that didn't have very much experience, but they had this innate problem-solving ability to listen to what was going on, assess that, and then come up with a solution. And here's what they're finding too. More and more they are finding within these companies, they are finding that actually some of this artificial intelligence is more predictive of a person's ability to perform on the other side of the interview once they've been hired. A lot more of the predictive analytics are much more spot on than people's individual assessments. We've all hired people that we just like them, or we kind of intuitively knew that they would do a good job, where it didn't turn out like that. But what is pretty amazing, and you could read more on these, you can just Google artificial intelligence or personnel screening and that type of thing on Harvard Business Review. You will see more and more there that going to this artificial intelligence to assess folks and their capabilities is becoming more and more accurate. And so what they're finding both in the talent sourcing and in the screening and the assessment and the onboarding, that you're having respective cost reduction of 20 and 25% each, which is huge, simply by using the technology that's available. And then finally, analytics there. How are you able to retain and engage employees? And so the use of analytics to better estimate flight risk, are they job hoppers? They're going to stay here today and go someplace else? Or are you going to identify individual retention approaches? That's what you're seeing more and more now, is that companies are customizing the kind of perks and the kind of real lifestyle issues that employees want to have to be able to retain the very best in talent, rather than just giving everybody XYZ vacation and XYZ bonus each year. They're more and more customizing those benefits. And that type of thing of customizing and using analytics to determine those has produced a 10 to 25% improvement in top performer retention. Once you get a rock star on the team that has both the will, the character, and the competence, you want to do the best you can to keep them. And one of the things that we've found that we highly believe in is the idea of employees having a stake in the game. It doesn't necessarily have to be outright stock, but every company that we've gone into, any company we've engaged over the last 4 years, if we've had them at least 12 months, we've more than doubled their value. And one of the ways that we always put in is for employee performance. In essence, they are now measured and monitored on how they perform, but they're also rewarded for that. And they know the milestones they have to hit ahead of time. And it's amazing when people are no longer just trading time for money, when you're no longer just walking in for a salary, regardless of how good that salary is. When you now have the ability to participate in the growth of the company, then you're into something extremely powerful. And here's what we found too. And things change and things always stay the same. But here's what I wanted to tell you. And I'm going to start at the bottom and work up. what were the elements that were valued the most by the very top talent? And one of these, at least one of these, should be a great distinctiveness within your company. Well, I believe that all four should be. So I'm going to start at the bottom first. When they ask when a company delivers and when it doesn't, how do you retain them? With a 76% score on here, companies that offered great rewards, wages, benefits, perks, and non-financial recognition. Obviously, we want that. We've got families to raise. We want the financial component of it. But out of the four, the financial rewards actually rated at the bottom. Even though it was high in percentage, it was 76%. So here's what you found, too. The next one, that people really want to have a great job. In essence, they want to love what they're doing. They want to have interesting opportunities. They want to have meaning. They want to have impact. And you're seeing this more and more amongst millennials that are any studies that have been done. They're not just there to collect a paycheck. They're there because they want to be a part of something that's larger than themselves. And so that's a great market differentiator if you know how to do that. If you know how to create a culture and your company has a mission, a vision, and the values to really attract people that are on a mission to make great change. So that scored 81. So great rewards were 76. Great job, 81. Right there, even with it, was great company. That they want to work, people, high performers, want to work with a company that's got great reputation, they've got great values, they've got a great culture, they're having business results, they're winning in the marketplace, and they're giving back. They're contributing overall to society. Actually, in the response there of these high performers, the great job was rated at 81, and a great company was rated right up there with it, and that was also at 81. But here's the one that should not be a surprise to anybody that's been in this leadership game any time at all. The number one thing that high performers are looking for in a company, the number one thing that retains them, are great leaders. People want to work with and for leaders that are inspirational, that are supportive, that are empowering, that are focused on the development of folks, not just there taking a check, but a leader that actually believes in his people, gives back to them, and is interested in seeing their personal development. That even if that person passes through that company, which sometimes you cannot hang on to high performers. Sometimes those high performers are the guys and gals that are out there starting their own companies, or they've moved to a greater opportunity than what your company can provide. And you should want that. You should want an environment to where even if they pass through for 3 years, it was a great trade-off, everybody won, and everybody was impacted. But the thing that people want more than anything else is leadership. They want a challenge. And so it goes back to John Maxwell's law of the lid. If on a scale of 1 to 10, if you're a 6 as a leader, you will never attract and retain anything but 5s. The higher your leadership level is, then the higher you can attract. So if you're griping about the quality of the people you have, I've seen this a lot of times in entrepreneurs, I can't get good people, I can't do this, can't do that, when the place they need to look is in the mirror, because if you're a poor leader yourself, you are not going to attract the high performers. Then I love the way the Marines do their recruiting and training there. They throw out, you can go ahead and skip that one, Matt. They throw out the real challenge here. Their greatest all-time recruiting poster out in the marketplace says, "We'd promise you sleep deprivation, mental torment, muscle so sore you'll puke, but we don't like to sugarcoat things." When you have an organization that people want to be a part of, and you throw out a leadership challenge that's going to challenge them to be a part of something that is much larger than they could ever be on their own, to carry a title larger than they could ever carry on their own, be a part of an organization where there truly is people that care about them and love them, and have an opportunity for them to develop both personally and professionally, then you have the components that it's going to take to win this war on talent. As I've said before, guys, if you've got any type of leadership challenges within your organization, if you're trying to grow to the next level, give me a call, 214-289-5000, or email me, gene.blanton@bowmore. Listen to our show at decidecommunicateexecute.com. And so we're out of here for today. Look for you next week. We're out. Semper Fi.